Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to the launch event of the third um, book from the Rise Up Project. We are very proud, we are very happy, and very thankful that you're here. My name is La Coimbra, as you know, or you maybe don't, but my name is La Coimbra, one of the co-founders of the Rise Up Project, one of the co-authors of the books, and I'm a Brazilian teacher, but I live in Germany now, and I'm a teacher trainer also, and yeah, I think that's it. I think kind of know me already. Right, James?
Yeah.
Introduce yourself also.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is James Taylor. I'm a teacher trainer, and materials writer, among other things. And I'm based in Brasilia, in Brazil. And yeah, we're just really happy to have you here today for the launch of the third Raise Up book for B2 level. This is a project that Ila and I started. When did we start this, Ila? Was it like 3 years ago? I guess we really started, right? But maybe a couple of years ago.
Really started in 2018. Yeah, really started in 2018.
Which is when we
the
published
first book was 2019, but we started it in 2018. Yes.
Yeah, so we published our first book, which was multi-level in 2019, and then this year, so we published our B1 book, and now it's our B2 book. And our objective is basically to advance the cause of inclusion in ELT materials. Ila, do you want to say a bit about that? Sorry, she's just about to take a mouthful of water. Sorry.
I was just about to sip the water, just a second.
Sure, sorry.
Sorry. And that's okay. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that we found that, and I think many of you will agree, and we are not the only ones to think that there are lots of groups that we do not find in ELT materials, and these are groups that really need voices, not only in the ELT classroom but around the world, in society. So we decided to, well, since we cannot find materials that we want to have, that we have the representation that we want, so we are going to create our own, and that's how we started, right, James?
Yeah, so we did the first book, just the two of us, with some illustrations by Danilo, Ila's husband. So it's just the three of us, but I think we did most of the work. And
true.
and then over the course of this project, we've kept expanding the team. So we've got more people involved. In the second book, the B1 book, we had our first guest writers who wrote lessons for us. So half the book was written by Ila, half by guests. This time, Ila's written 2 lessons, I've written 1, and then the rest have been written by guest writers. And well, we'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But the project is growing, and it's not just about publishing materials as well. We also want to do what we can to advocate for this, what we feel is an important subject, an important cause in ELT. So we will be doing other things in the future, depending on whether we can get the time to do them, but we will be doing more stuff. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the idea of having guest authors is not only because we wanted to work a little bit less, because the first one was very heavy,
because we don't work any less, so it doesn't work.
That's true. But the main purpose of having guest authors is to have more voices, because as we want to give voices to people who don't have voices, we cannot be the only ones to speak, right? So the idea of inviting guest authors is actually to have different perspectives from different groups and different even teaching styles, maybe, if you can say that, because
another important element is levels of experience as well, so that in that we have we have people who've written lessons for us, like Hugh Deller, for example, who are extremely experienced course book writers, but then we've also had people for us, like in this book, that have never written or published a lesson before, and that's something we like to have. We like to have that range of both of those positions and people somewhere in between.
Yeah, definitely. And for those, for example, who have never written a lesson before, it's great learning experience, right? Writing a whole unit, being edited, being illustrated. I mean, this is also great benefit for those who collaborate.
Yeah. So today the plan is that we're going to show you the new book. We'll go through each lesson and we'll have a chat with each of the authors that are here about that lesson and what it's about, and then we'll tell you about the charity that will be receiving all the proceeds from this book, which is Lifting Hands International. We'll tell you a bit about them as well at the end. Okay, Ella, shall we start talking about the lessons?
Yeah, let me just check. Let me just, before we start, let me thank Caltabiano Idiomas for the sponsor.
Absolutely, of course.
They gave us the room, and not only that, they have always been very, very supportive. Personally, they are also my personal friends, very supportive, not only to the project, but of all these causes themselves. So I would like to thank Caltabiano Idiomas. I would love to have them speaking, but Bruna Caltabiano is teaching right now, and Marcelo Caltabiano, although that, okay. So he was telling me that he has bad connection, but I think we can let Marcelo. Can you please just jump in and say a few words, Marcelo? I think his connection is really bad.
Yeah, I think he might have. He might be out of the room actually.
Yeah, he was texting me. There you go. His connection is really bad, but I think he can say a few words. I would really like to give some voice to Caltabiano Idiomas also. So, yeah. Let's see if he can do it. Marcelo?
Yes, hello there.
Now I can hear you, yes.
So, great event. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you. And thank you for
the... It's a great pleasure being with you. It was a great pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you for helping us with the Zoom thing in the room. And thank you for the support that you have always, you and Bruna have always given to us at Rise Up.
You can always count on us, Ila.
Thank you.
You and James can always count on us, of course. Great pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's start talking about the lessons, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so here's the first lesson. So this lesson is by ANDREI, who unfortunately can't be here today. And it's illustrated by Katie Alice Billsborough, beautifully illustrated. So this is a lesson which ostensibly is about sport and fitness, health and exercise, and these subjects. But what I think is really what I really like about this lesson is, and the grammar as well, of course, which is the comparative patterns grammar. But what I really like about this lesson is the fact that the images are so important with this, because the text, one of the texts is written from the perspective of a wheelchair user and how they do sports, which I think I love that perspective. It's wonderful to have that first person perspective of someone who's a wheelchair user. And obviously the illustrations are really important for this as well, because I think you combine that text with the illustrations together, and that's what makes this lesson different from what you would normally see in a course book, right? Ila, do you have anything you want to add about this lesson?
No, what I find it also interesting is that you can actually, just a second. what I really like about this lesson is one thing that's very strong in Rise Up, which is just having people. Let me just mute.
Yeah, I'll do it. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you. It's just actually having people included without problematizing. Again, we always say that problematizing is never a bad idea, but we decided at Rise Up to take a different approach, which is very well a very good example here. People with disabilities, they are included here, but we are not discussing the problems that they have or the issues that they have, or they are not stereotyped either. It's not about, they're not doing anything, wow, inspiring or out of the blue. They're just regular people inserted in society. So that's what I really like, not only about the illustration, but also about the text. Very good work.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the second lesson now. And this is by Ila. So, Ila, let me ask you. Before I ask you, I just wanted to mention that so with each of these lessons, you'll notice that not only do we have the author here mentioned, but we've also got the illustrator and the editor. And there's a reason why we've done that, not just because we want to give credit and thanks to all of these people, but to show you that when these lessons come together, it's a project, right, that is done by different people, and it takes time, over a long period of time. It's from the initial concept from the writer up to the point where the illustrator has completed their work, and so all the way through. And I also, at this point, I want to give credit to our proofreader, Ryan, who does an amazing job. And unfortunately, he can't be here today, but I know he'll be watching the recording. And
Thanks, Ryan.
He has elevated the quality of this book by at least another level because of his amazing eye. It's really incredible. So this is a long process, and it's a team effort. And
definitely.
The first book that we published for Raise Up, as I said, it was it was a small team effort. With this book, including Ila and I, there have been 21 people involved. And so that shows you just how we've grown and how I think that we've improved as a result. Okay, I just wanted to make a point of saying that on every slide. That's why you'll see 3 faces.
Yeah, the editor, the illustrator, and the author.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay, so Ila, tell me about this lesson. So give me the teacher stuff first. What are the language points, and who did you decide to represent?
Yeah, this lesson, as it followed Andrew's lesson on comparative. So here we have the superlative, and
no, passive voice.
Sorry, that's the other one.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the other one.
Okay.
We're thinking about passive voice, and the thing is, every time you look at a book that we use in the class, passive voice is presented with biographies. So, or inventions, mainly inventions, because it was invented by, it was created by. So it's a context that is very easily associated with passive voice. So that's why I went for inventions, because it's just very easy to work with. And I just chose, so you can go through the text, and then you have the questions about the text. You have practice, presentation, practice, production, everything that you see in a regular lesson. So this is the teaching point that we have. 4 texts, short paragraphs that talk about the inventions. And then from that, we extract the passive voice, give the rules, and etc. The twist here is that these inventions were made by Black women, and we hardly know Black people in general participation in science and in inventions and writers. So I decided to focus on Black women and their inventions, and I learned a lot with this lesson about women that are still producing a lot in science. For example, the one that invented the technology that generated a GIF, or GIF, if you prefer. She's still very productive and doing a lot of stuff, and she's a real inspiration. Yeah.
So speaking of inspiration, what inspired you to choose this this subject, or this group in particular?
Yeah, the time I was writing the lessons, the Black Lives Matter movement, Black Lives Matter movement, was very, very strong. It was a little bit before the George Floyd assassination, but and then I thought that I wanted to do something on women. I want to write something on women, so I just joined women and Black people. So I think that was really the reason why.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Anything else you want to add about this lesson, or should we move
No, I
on?
just think that's very interesting. The invention, one of the woman that invented the cloth wrangler, she had no profits from that because she didn't have it patented, because what she said is that if women at that time knew that that was invented by a Black woman, she would never sell anything. So I thought that was really strong. She got $28 for her invention, and that she sold to another person, and this person really made a lot of money and she got nothing. So it's really good that she's here, and it's sad that we couldn't find a picture of her to be illustrated. So she doesn't even have a face. So to me, it's very important to have written about her. She has a voice, although she still doesn't have a face. She at least has a voice now. So this is something was really powerful to me.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on now to lesson 3, and Ila, I'll let you speak to Effie. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Effie, you can turn on your camera and your microphone now. So this is your lesson. Effie, are you there? Effie? Let me.
Yes.
Are you there, Effie?
Sorry. I think that there is a trouble with my internet connection, and I really don't know what's happening.
Okay. No, don't worry.
Slow, something really
Don't worry.
unexpected.
I can hear you well.
Happens.
Okay.
I don't know why. Okay.
So,
right.
Effie, could you tell us a little bit about your lesson? What language point you explored? What topic you explored? Just the teaching stuff, the teaching part of it.
All right. So as you see, the title of my lesson is Appetite for Adventure. And it is mainly based on a story narrated by a 5-year-old refugee boy from Syria. Now they are staying at Idomeni camp, which is located in northern Greece. It is not very, very far from the place I live. Actually, the learners have the opportunity which have been taken. Actually, they are screenshots, and I'm going to talk about it because this is the source of my inspiration.
That was my next question. Go on.
I'm gonna leave it for later. And so they have the chance to take a look at them and actually say what they can see and what do you think that these pictures are from, and do they feel, of course, when they look at those pictures. And then after this warm-up exercise, they have the chance to read the story and to see how little Joel actually describes the situation in the camp through the eyes of the 5-year-old. Then the learners have the chance to explore more on adjectives, basically to take a look at the meanings of the adjectives. And then I decided to focus on second conditional. And the reason I decided to do that is that second conditional is given the students the chance to put themselves in the shoes of the boy. And so they have the chance to say what would they do if they were in his position, in Joel's position. And also they have the chance to take this, they can imagine maybe themselves being in a camp far away from their country. What would they do if they were So I think that second conditional was the most ideal grammatical phenomenon that I could use in order to actually let the students express their feelings. All right,
very nice,
and
very
then
nice. Go on.
And then what I thought was that it would be great to let my students, work on their imagination and see how what kind of questions they would ask to Joel if they had the chance. So to actually work on an imaginary interview and ask Joel what they would like to know. And
Nice.
finally, what I decided to do is to actually give my students a chance to discuss more on this crucial topic of refugee and crossing the borders. And I decided to give them a certain situation and ask them what would they think that Joel's future might be regarding this situation. So this is I think that would be a very nice expand of what they have already read and they have already learned.
Nice. Very, very interesting, Effie. Thank you for
I
that.
think
And what was the inspiration for the lesson?
All right. So as you can see, up in the culture of sports, my source of inspiration for the story was a documentary film that is called Spectres Are Hunting Europe. And
I think she's having connection problems. Effie? Yeah, I think Effie's having some connection problems.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, go on. You were talking about your inspiration for the. Go on. Yeah, I'm still having problems, I feel, unfortunately. Maybe, do you want to get out of the room and then you get into the meeting again? And meanwhile, we present the next lesson. We could do that, right, James?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so Effie, please leave the room and join in again. Meanwhile, we are going to present the next lesson, all right?
Oh, she's back again.
I think that can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Good.
Okay. So I just
So go
wanted
on.
to say that this documentary was the most the basic source of my inspiration.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah, let's continue. And Effie, you can leave the room and enter. And after the next lesson, we come back to you, all right? So, James, would you like to present the next one then?
Absolutely, as it's me.
So tell us, James, a little bit about your lesson. I mean, language point wise, inspiration wise, and story you're telling.
Yeah, so I decided to do the lesson about the past perfect. I can't tell you that I had a burning desire to write a lesson about the past perfect, but it was relevant, and it was part of our scopes plan for the book. So I thought, yeah, okay, I can do that. And you know, like the thing about past perfect is, you know, it's not the easiest tense to find a context for. So I chose this one of sort of looking back on a person's life but then sort of rearranging the events in their life so that some things happen before other things. You know, I thought that would be an interesting way of doing the language point. And so the subject here is about a drummer called Chick Webb, and I saw a thread about him on Twitter where someone was saying there's this guy called Chick Webb that you've probably never heard of, and I hadn't, and you should know this about him. And then his life story, even though his life was sadly short, was pretty incredible. That he was disabled and was one of the best jazz drummers in New York in the 20s and 30s. And if you were one of the best jazz drummers in New York in the 20s and 30s, you were really good, right? So he lived this amazing life, and he discovered Ella Fitzgerald, and she sang with his band. That was her first sort of professional singing job. And I just thought that's exactly the kind of person I'd love to see in a course book. You know, a Black disabled person would just be a really interesting subject for a lesson. So that's why I chose to write about him.
Nice, very, very nice. Yeah. And the illustration looks amazing, right?
Yeah. So the illustration was by my friend Igor here in Brasilia. The lesson ends with activity about where. Well, one thing I should mention before I mention that is the fact that one of the innovations with this Raise Up book is the fact that we now have listening activities for the first time. Sure. And so 2 of the lessons have got listening with them. So when you buy the book, you will also get some MP3s, and you'll get the transcripts in a sort of student format for the listening activities. And so that was a lot of fun for me because I'm also a podcast producer, so I enjoy producing audio. And so this lesson, coincidentally or not, is a podcast. That's for the listening. That's the input text. So the students listen to a podcast about Chick's life as their exposure to the language. And so so this time we'll give you listening lessons, which is something we wanted to do for quite a long time. But the end of the lesson is the students, if they have the means, can produce their own short podcast where they do a biography of a famous disabled person, and that's hence the big image here in the center with some examples of famous disabled people from history. So it's great. Yes, it's a very lovely picture.
Amazing. Thank you, James. Thank you. Okay, and the next one is, let me get, sorry.
Okay, I'll speak to João. Yep.
Okay, just go for which one.
So here he comes. So hi, João. Thank you for being here.
Hey, hello. Thank you.
So first of all, can you give us a bit of a summary of what your lesson is about, both in terms of the theme and also the language?
Good. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is João Eduardo. And well, before I begin, I just would like to thank James and Carlos for the opportunity to write a lesson for the book. Without you, this lesson would not be possible. It's the first time I have ever written something for publishing, so it was something that was really nice and a great experience. So I learned a lot from you. So thank you very much for your brilliant work. I also would like to thank Kleber for providing the illustrations for the lesson, and I just loved the illustration. So thank you very much. So my lesson is a fair ride, and it deals with 2 groups. First, I was just checking the lesson again, and I noticed a second group, which is the non-hegemonic English language speakers. In this case, South Africans. So most of the times we see books showing British subjects and American, and only those 2. And now we see, a text about a South African context. But the main focus of the lesson is on low-paid workers, more specifically Uber drivers, right? So I try to make use of news report genre to create activities to teach direct and indirect speech and develop students' reading and speaking skills, right? So my choice for this specific group is justifiable due to its relevance for today's world. I think most people, not if everyone, has already taken an Uber, and sometimes we don't think about working conditions of those people who are taking us everywhere. So it happens the same with iFood and some other apps from the so-called gig economy. So, well, that's the whole idea of the lesson, but the main focus was reported speech and low-paid workers.
Yeah, and I was really pleased with this choice because I think this is perhaps one of the big issues of our time that we don't really talk about enough. So that's the reason why we have that, one of the reasons why we have that group in our list, because we consider that to be a really important social issue. Was there any further inspiration for why you chose this particular group to write about? Why was it interesting for you?
I think the inspiration was the news reports, right? I think we, in our daily life, we see these news about Uber drivings being robbed, and the fact of the working condition is also something that called my attention, because the company, like most of these companies, they advertise themselves as a technology platform that connects drivers or partners and riders. So they don't have any legal obligation with partners, because they do not consider these people working for them as employees. So this restricts a lot their rights and support whenever they have an accident or they cannot work. And now we're talking about a pandemic, and sometimes these companies, they do not provide these workers with, what's at least human for them, so they can live honestly and well. When I decided about the theme and how I would approach the lesson, I thought of not being so deterministic and one-sided, because it could be easier for us to just criticize and say bad things about the lesson. But if you talk to an Uber driver, or if you talk to a delivery person working for these companies, you're going to see that it's how they live, how they make a living out of this technology. So of course, it brings us advantages. And I think, in a part of the lesson, I tried to show the advantages that people might consider for this specific service, but also, show people that there is a different side. So one side that people don't usually consider.
Yeah.
So I think that's most of it.
No, and I think you did that fantastically. Can you just tell us a bit about why you decided to get involved in Raise Up in the first place?
Great. This is a great opportunity to talk about the project as a whole. And to me, I don't know about you, but when I think about learning a language and also teaching a language, I think about empathy. So empathy is the word that I think teaching and learning a language is all around, because of course we communicate, but when we communicate, I think we're putting ourselves into someone else's shoes. So I think the whole philosophy of Raise Up is connected to this feeling of empathy and creating in students and teachers this feeling of wearing someone else's hat. So my question, so I decided to participate in this project because I think that empathy is key for today's world. So if we put ourselves into the Uber driver shoes or LGBTQ plus people, I think we are going to have, or any other identities, disabled people, working class. So I think we are going to live in a better world. So that's why I loved the idea and I decided to volunteer.
Okay, well, that's great, Ria, and we love your lesson, and thank you so much for contributing and for being here today. Thank you, João Eduardo.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. You're on mute, Dylan.
Yeah, I just realized. Thanks,
Okay.
João. Just very fast, just talking about the chat. Many people complimenting the illustrations, the variety of topics, the layout. Thank you very much, you all, for your comments. It's really rewarding to see these compliments. Okay, now let's talk about Thaisa's lesson that was written by Thaisa, edited by Jen Dobson, and illustrated by Julia. So Thaisa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, Thaisa. So tell us a little bit about your lesson, the language points that you have, and the group that you decided, the topic or the group that you decided to tackle in your lesson.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. I, just like João, this was my first lesson ever.
Nice.
So I had very little experience producing materials like this, and it was fantastic and an amazing experience. So my lesson is focused on elderly people, and the title "Who Got the Job" is because the grammar point is present perfect versus simple past. And whenever we're talking about these two together, we usually talk about experiences and life achievement. So I remember my first talk with James, we were discussing this, and I said, you know what, maybe we can talk about the work environment, because many people think that just because you get older, you stop having a life, or you stop looking for job opportunities, right? And so we started with a job ad and for a history teacher, and then there are 2 listening exercises in this lesson. Are amazing. I loved your recordings.
It's fun to record.
Yeah, I imagine. And then there is the principal, Mark, talking to Lucy, and she is the head of the HR department. And then they're talking about the candidates, or sorry, the criteria for the candidates. And then they have to select someone for the position, right? And then she comes up with these 2 people, Carlos and Mary Jane, and the illustrations are so beautiful. I love that they have a face because they were now just in my head. And then the idea was for the students to actually talk about the candidates, think about the decision that was made by the principal. And what I loved the most was Jen she helped me get to what you said before, that it's not about problematizing the group, right? So we presented an elderly candidate, but it was not about discussing the fact that she was 63 years old. So it turned out beautifully, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you share a little bit what was the inspiration for your lesson? I mean, why did you decide to go to this?
I had been working with students who were 50 plus for a while now, a partner in a school focused on this age group. And selecting materials for them was always kind of frustrating because of the lack of representation. We always heard from them, we don't see ourselves there, right? And whenever you hear about older people or you read about older people in materials, they're usually doing something extraordinary, like climbing Mount Everest, not like real people doing real things, right? So I think this was actually, and I remember that I had just worked with the movie The Intern. Watch the movie, but it's he gets a job as an intern in a e-com company, and he learns and teaches a lot with his coworkers. And I thought that was awesome. I said, my students were like, this is what life is about, new experiences, about getting a new job if you want to get a new job, right? So even if it is as an intern,
Yeah.
so that touched me. That was like, okay, they need to see more of this. And this is why I was so happy to be involved with the Raise Up project, because I think this is one of the biggest thing. I agree with Joan when he says about empathy. I think the fact that you see yourself represented there, that's so important. This is because if you were not in their shoes, in your student's shoes, then you can't relate, right? You can't, because if we want to get a job now, I'm 35, I can try different things, and it's okay. If you're 70 and you want to get a job as an intern, then people are like, they judge you for wanting to do that. So this is why I was inspired to work with this topic
Great.
and this group.
Amazing and so important, right? Because that's your reality also. You see people not seeing themselves daily in your classroom. And why did you decide to join Rise Up? Can you share
I think
a
it
little
was
bit?
I think it was an opportunity to be a part of something so big. I think because we don't see so much of this, the representation. I mean, I was tired of seeing an older person being represented as like a hunchback and a cane in a book. And when I bought the first Rise Up, I was like, wow, this is the real deal, because it's giving the space for people to like you said, have a voice. And I think this is actually, it can be life-changing. I think this can actually change the way people see themselves as part of the world, as part of a community, and that they have other people out there that are just like them, right? So that's why I was so proud to be involved in this.
And we are very proud to have you here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Daisy. Is there anything else that you want to mention?
Well, I just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity, and thank Jen and James for the patience. But it was really amazing, and the
It
book
was our
looks
pleasure.
fantastic.
Yeah, it was our pleasure having you here. Thank you very much, Thaisa. Okay,
Thank you.
so now the next one, James.
Yeah, I can take over here. So
Good.
next we'll be joined by Vicky.
Hello, hello, hello.
There she is, very prompt.
I'm
Very
here.
good. So thank you for being here, Vicky. So, so firstly, can you give us a bit of context behind the lesson? A bit about, well, start with the language. What language does this lesson look at?
Okay, the language, the main language is relative clauses, both defining and non-defining. And for that, I decided to adopt a guided discovery approach to finding the differences and pointing out the grammar rules later.
Yeah, okay. And tell us a bit about the group that you decided to look at.
Well, the group. I decided to go for stereotypes related to body types and beauty ideals. And the reason why I chose that is that, well, I have been doing project-based learning for a very long time. And for many years with my teen students, I always did a project about stereotypes in general, where I gave them choice to choose some kind of stereotype and work on it and present it to others and try to understand better why we had those stereotypes. And one year, a couple of girls, Milagros and Sil, they chose to work on body types, especially beauty ideals, and some cultures where being fat was not seen as a bad thing, like in Argentina at least, where the ideal of being thin and sometimes even skinny is like all over it. And I thought that it was a great topic to work with teenagers, and it was a great topic to introduce in a book. I had never seen it before. So, and then when we started working with it, with you and with Elaine, we decided to go beyond that particular body type, and we went into other beauty ideals like beards. We also looked into tattoos at some moment. So we tried to make it more varied. And I'm very proud of how it looks. So I have kudos to you and to Ana Garcia, who did the illustrations. They're beautiful. And to Elaine, who was a great editor.
Yeah, yeah. And so what was it about that particular group that really you wanted to write a lesson about, you know?
Well, I have been hit very close home with the consequences of believing that these stereotypes are something to live by. So eating disorders and self-esteem problems. So I really wanted to make a statement.
Yeah. Well, you definitely succeeded in that. I think it's a great lesson. Can you tell us a bit about what motivated you to want to get involved in Raise Up in the first place?
Oh, God, Lord. Well, I was at the live event for the launch of the first Raise Up.
It's true.
So at that moment, I thought it was a great idea. And then you and I met again, and we talked about how the project would develop further. And I was really happy that I could be included as a writer. So happy.
Yeah, and we're delighted to have you as well, of course, Vicky. Thank you so much. It's a fantastic lesson, and we're really happy to be putting it out into the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
And just if you allow me to jump in very quickly, it's great to see, and that's the power of representation, right? I really connected to the story you told about yourself and how you suffer with believing that these standards are the ones to live by. And I think many women in this room, in this meeting, would relate to that, and also many men. So this is something that it touches us, definitely. Thank you for those words. It's always good to see that you're not the only one who suffer with these type of things. Great, thank you. All right.
Okay, and then on to the final lesson in the book, which is again by Ila. So
another one. Yes.
So let me ask you then, tell us a bit about what was the inspiration behind, well, before you tell us the inspiration, tell us what it's about first.
Yeah, well, this one is about the superlatives. So this one is about the superlatives, and the topic that I decided to choose to choose is religion. The thing is, we were questioned, and I think it was a very interesting question, that why we don't have, we are not tackling right after the first book was launched.
Well,
we were asked.
You should mention who asked the question.
I'm getting there. And
okay,
we were asked by no one less but David Crystal, why we don't have religion there and religious representations. And I thought first, when David Crystal asks you a question, you might answer. You might want to answer. And secondly, he had a fair point. The thing is, what I found it difficult, and I wanted to do that because it was a challenge for me. I'm not a religious person. I'm not connected to religions. I have very strong opinion about religion. So that would be a challenge for me. And I wanted to go for religion. And then, as I had written already about Black women invention, I was still with Black Lives Matter in my mind. So I decided to go for African religion, which was tricky because nowadays, if you go through African religions, most of them are either Christian religions or Muslim religion. I didn't want to go there. I wanted to do, because these are more like colonized religions. So I really want to go to the roots. And I found this amazing interview with a professor of indigenous African religion and of African American studies. And he teaches at, I think it's Harvard, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. But anyway, he's a big name in the African studies in the US. And this is an amazing religion because an amazing interview with him because he talks about the spirituality of African indigenous people and how this is being taken from Africa, because most of this religion and their gods and their stories and all the mythology of these religions are oral traditions. And once you take those who know the tradition away from the country because they were enslaved, you're killing the religions also. So I found it amazing topic to bring about. And also many religions in the Americas, in the US and Central and South America, in all the Americas, they have African influences and they are pagan religions, and there is a lot of prejudice against those religions and against people who are part of these religions. So I decided to join both, talk about the problems that African religions face because of the disappearance of them, because many of them were taken, people who had the knowledge were taken and was enslaved and never came back to the continent. And also the result of these people being in another continent, influencing religion in this other continent, and people who have these beliefs suffering prejudice. I think that was something that was really touched me and said, that's how I'm going to tackle religion. So this was the story behind this. This lesson.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting perspective and definitely an unusual one to see, like in course book materials. I think that it's really different and really a really interesting lesson. What about the language?
Yeah, I talked. This is sorry.
No, it's okay. Go for it.
Yeah, that's about the second conditional, and I find it interesting because I don't think for a B2 it's a not very challenging grammar topic. It's kind of one of the easiest one at that level to teach. So I just wanted to have a very dense reading activity, which is the interview, which is very dense, that could bring a lot of vocabulary to talk about religion. And what I like about this lesson is that in the end, the last activity of it, it's like a freer activity where they have to get one of the African influenced religions and talk about that using not only the second condition, the first conditional, but also the vocabulary that they learned. And there isn't an activity there for students to talk about their own beliefs. But in the teacher notes, I created that activity as an extra activity for if you feel comfortable, you can do that. And it's a writing activity, so it's something a little bit more personal between the teacher and the student. So I think it's a very delicate private way to use it. Yeah, more private and a little more respectful also, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is, and I really like also the controlled practice activity, let's call it, because which is number 12. Each sentence is about a practice and a belief of one of the African influences religions. So you have something about Santeria, you have something about Candomblé, you have something about Louisiana Voodoo. So by doing that, the students get to know more about this religion. So I have to say I'm very proud of this lesson. Yeah.
As you should be. It's
it's thank you, as we all should be, because the book is really, really great.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the final lesson in the book.
Yes.
What we'll just also mention briefly as well is that, as Ila mentioned, there are extensive teacher's notes as well when you buy the PDF that are after the lessons. So every lesson comes with lots of notes, and in most cases with ideas, extra resources, and everything. So that's all included when you buy the book as well.
Yeah. James, Effie is back.
Yeah.
And I talked to her so she can finish talking about her lesson and then go on for the final chat.
Yep. Okay. Go for it.
So Effie, are you back? You were talking about the inspiration for your lesson, right?
Yes, I'm back. So I'm turning my camera on.
Good.
All right. Okay. I don't know if you can see me now. Okay, I think that it says that I cannot start my video because the host has stopped it. Wow.
Okay, I'm going to start your video then.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, thank you so much. I think that today there is a trouble in internet connection. In the area, not only in my house.
Everybody understands. Everybody has been through that. Don't worry, especially in COVID times. Don't worry, really.
Yeah.
So the inspiration for your lesson, tell us.
All right. So as I said, the source of inspiration for my story is a documentary film that is entitled Spectres Are Hunting Europe, and is directed by two Greek directors, Maria Kourkouda and Niki Giannari. They couldn't be with us today, but they already know that I have been inspired by their film, which is really moving, and I was really touched to how they decided to portray the story, to portray the efforts of refugees from the Middle East to cross the borders and continue their journey in Europe to find a new home or to seek asylum. So this is what they wanted to do, and this is what I tried to do through Joel's story. And I think that having heard stories from my students who tried to cross the borders with their parents, who lost their parents on this cruel path, I think that I couldn't, that was the least I could do for them, to write a story about refugees and especially about refugee kids. And what I didn't have the chance to do before was to say a huge thank you to giving me the opportunity to write this lesson. And I'm an amateur. This is one of my first attempts, and actually this is my first lesson. The other one is also about a great cause, is about stray life and a compilation. So this is my first thing, my first attempt. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for your dedication. It's our pleasure, definitely.
This is the reason. Actually, the most important reason, of course, is the fact I feel that contributing to such publication, I help students become familiar with these sensitive topics, with this group of people who have received such a racism, a lot of racism and rage. And another important thing, of course, is that I believe that there is this huge gap, as you said, in publication regarding topics that touch sensitive issues, which promotes empathy and sensitize learners. And of course, the most important thing, as I said, is that I discovered the new self. I discovered that I have a talent I didn't know. So I think that through this process of writing, it made me a better person, and I would like to thank you so much for that.
Wow, these words were amazing, Effie. Thank you, really, thank you very much for that, and it's definitely a pleasure. So you have just answered the last question: why you got involved in the Rise Up? That's amazing.
I was afraid that the connection is going to be weak,
so let me do it fast. No, yeah, brilliant. That was amazing. Thank you for such kind words. It is a pleasure. It's very rewarding to work at Rise Up. It's really very rewarding for everyone. So thank you again. James, you want to talk to Effie about the good cause now, right?
Yes. Well, just before. Hold on. Let me get it ready. Yes. Okay. So, as I hope you know from. All of the Raise Up books, all of the money goes to different charities. So each book we nominate a different charity, and we try to coordinate the charity that we give money to one of the lessons in the book. So in the first book, there was a lesson about Casa in Sao Paulo, and that's where we gave the money to. In the second book, there was a lesson about Las Patronas in Mexico. And that's where the proceeds from the second book went to. And so when we were deciding for this book, Effie's lesson was the one that was most obviously tied to a particular situation and particular charity. And so that's where we spoke to Effie, and we decided to give the money to this organization called Lifting Hands. Effie, can you just give people a bit of an idea about what is the situation there in Greece? What is going on, and why is it that charities like this are so important?
The situation is really crucial right now because more and more refugees are trying to cross the borders, and they actually need shelter and they need help. And what Lifting Hands do is actually to dedicate and provide clear and meaningful ways for them and help refugees and make the place that they are staying, the temporary place that they are staying right now, make them feel like home, making it feel like home. And that's why they have constructed a beautiful educational space outside the camp. And all these efforts were based only on donations. Actually, it's a non-profit organization. So that's why all this dedication and passion and all this great work they have done, I think that it deserves to receive an extra help. And thank you very much for choosing Lifting Hands for that, because they do an amazing work and they try to help women, educate them. They try to educate young men, and they try to promote different kinds of services like they have dance lessons, and they try to combine local dances, folklore dances with dances that children used to dance when they were at home in their country. So they try to bring all this culture together, and they do an amazing job in giving this kind of pleasure and in this kind of educational educational opportunities to both kids and adults.
Yeah, and that
So
includes
that's why I
English
believe
lessons,
that
right?
this is a very good cause.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it includes
Yes.
it includes English lessons as well, doesn't it? English and German, I believe, as well.
English, yes, that's
Yeah,
right, that's
yeah.
right.
So,
Mhm.
so we're
And
really.
they had Greek lessons.
No, go ahead.
They had Greek lessons at some point.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fantastic thing. So I know that they're also involved in some projects as well outside of Greece. Let me just check. I've got it here, the information. So I know that they're also involved with helping Syrian refugees in Jordan and helping children in Bangladesh as well. So, and I think they're also helping people who are trying to settle in the United States as well. So refugees. So yeah, it's a fantastic organization. Thank you very much for letting us know about them, Effie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Effie.
Thank you.
Great help for us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So,
okay, so the last thing that remains for us to say is about buying the book, obviously.
Yeah, buy the book.
It's
That's
out.
it. That's all.
It's available right now.
There.
So that website, the one that you've seen all the way through, is the one you can go to right now in order to buy the book. It is the link is there. There's the QR code if you prefer. Yeah, so raiseupforelt.com/B2. As I said, the book comes. So you get the book, including the teacher's notes. You get the 3 MP3s and the 3 transcripts as well. So
Exactly.
it's all available right now. And one other thing I would ask you to do as well is to if you buy the book, do us a favor and tell people that you've bought the book.
Exactly. Spread the word.
Spread the word.
We have this is what we do. We are independent. We are published independently, and I mean there isn't marketing behind. It's just us sharing on social media and word of mouth advertisement. So if you bought it, share that. Tell people that you've bought it. Recommend it, because this is how we get to sell more and to have more books spread, right? Also, as you could see, it takes a whole village to build a book like that. We are always looking for a contribution, always looking for contributors, not only on the teaching educational side, but also on the publishing and design side. So anything that you think you can help us with, you're more than welcome to write a lesson, to help us with the design, to help us with the illustration, anything that you think you want to do to help us, it's more than welcome.
Absolutely, absolutely it is. We've okay. I just want to say we've sold our first copy. I want to. Who bought the first copy?
Carlos.
Carlos bought the first
Carlos,
copy.
no, that was not Carlos.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Carlos and Tyson. There you go.
Yes, Carlos and Tyson. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So.
There are some questions here. Philip asked, because he has the other books, but he couldn't find the teacher notes that we talked about. Philip, this is something that we managed to do with the last book only, because this is something that we have been developing. From now on, all the books that will come up with this type of teacher notes with resources and suggestions. But the other two we need to re-edit and maybe change that, but it's not available. That's why you don't have it, okay? Because we haven't made it yet, haven't done it yet. And then Magdalena asked, where are the authors from? So I'm Brazilian, living in Germany. James is from the UK, living in Brazil. Vicky is in Argentina, and is Argentina, living in Argentina. And Effie is from Greece, and she lives there. And João and Thaisa are also Brazilians who are living in Brazil. So these are our national. Oh, and Andrew, right? Andrew, where is it from, James?
From
UK,
the
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So these are
Paolo's,
the nationalities.
yeah. Paolo's asking about how many books there are. So this is the third book now. So the first book was multi-level. The second book was B1, and then now the third book is B2. Next year, see if you can guess what's coming next year.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you can go, Paulo, and buy the other two in the website. If you need if you have any questions, any of you have any questions, you can write us an email, right?
Absolutely, of course. Or you can ask us now.
Contact us, yeah, personally.
I'll put a link in here for where you can buy the other two books. Give me a second.
Yes, there are some questions on the chat. So Magdalena is asking, just a second. Magdalena is asking how long it takes. Well, I would say a year at least. To get everything together.
I mean, it's not a constant process. It comes in fits and starts. Maybe 9 months. I would say 9 months. Something like that, 9 months to a year.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And Liz is saying here, I work with English language assessment. Would you be interested in progress test for each unit?
I would be interested in pretty much anything you can mention.
Exactly. So
that's the thing,
definitely, Liz, contact us. Okay, contact us and let's talk about that. We are definitely interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely something we would love to hear about. And if anyone's got any other ideas, we are very open to collaboration.
Come to us.
Yeah. I mean, we have, I almost don't want to say things because I don't want to commit to something that we can't do. But one thing I know that Ila and I would love to do is to have this book translated and available in other languages. And so
definitely to teach other
languages. Something that
is
interesting to you, listening to me now, then I would love to hear from you, because I would love to have this book in Spanish and in Portuguese and so on, and many other languages.
One more question before we finish. Stella is asking, can we share it with our students at Teacher Training College? The thing is, Stella, yes, of course you can share because you're training teachers, but we just don't want the book to be spread without people paying for it, simply because the money goes for a good cause. Yeah. So of course share it, but I would recommend, share 1 or 2 units or talk about that and show it, of course. But if you're planning to use the whole book, I would kindly ask you to make them buy the book, just because, it's a good cause, right?
Yeah, and it is possible to buy multiple copies at the same time. So you can do that. But thanks, Stella. She said that.
No, I know that you meant that.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'm glad you asked.
But it is a good question that people do ask us sometimes. Like, of course.
True.
That's the main reason that we're kind of a bit protective of it, is because all the money goes to charity. So we want to try and get as much money to that charity as possible, and it isn't very expensive. So
yeah, exactly. So it's possible to buy. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's it. No more questions in the chat.
I think so.
No more. I'm just checking. No. One more message. No. Okay, so I think that means that we are done for today.
I think so. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for being here. Thanks everyone who have bought the book already and who's going to buy the book. Thank you very much. Spread the word. Yeah. And looking forward to meeting you all again in the next launch event, maybe.
Yeah, and thank you to all of our writers, our editors, our illustrators, our proofreader, everyone who got involved. All of the writers can appear here now. In fact, anyone who's here who contributed, so that's writers,
turn on
editors,
illustrators, editors,
anyone.
Turn on your camera. Let's see you. Just wave, say hi.
Just say hi. You don't have to turn your microphone on. Don't worry.
You're so beautiful. Yeah, clever. Nice to see you. Ensino para todos is here also. Nice. Yeah, Philip, thank you for coming. Okay, then. Thank you all for participating. Thank you. Let's thank again, Dani. You're here too. Great to see you. Stella. Okay. Thanks again for being here. And another special thank you for Voltabiano Idiomas for sponsoring the event one more time and for all the support for the event. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely Saturday evening, morning, anyway. And I can't wait to see you again in the next launch event. Keep tuned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.